what does lab data management mean to my lab? So we'll go ahead and get started. So a little bit about me. So I started out in the nuclear submarine force long time ago, unfortunately. And one of the things I learned very quickly when doing nuclear submarine force work was the fact that we operated within protocols and they were approved by quality, and we had to sign off on each step to replace a tiny valve or a huge valve or whatever it was. And in the nuclear reactor area, we had the NRC, so the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. So I became very adept at filling out forms and following quality doctrines and things like that. And this whole thing's called the SubSafe program, so that submarines don't sink. So when I got out of the Navy, pharma companies were looking for nukes for some reason, and I didn't know why, but I got a job anyway, and that's how I got into pharma. And then, 20 years later, I got into consulting. But so one of the things that these the nuclear force trained people was in strict, basically GXP documentation. So a lot of pharma companies, especially in the Research Triangle, RTP area, were looking for ex-submariners. So went to school, got my degrees, got certified in a whole bunch of stuff you can see here. And so we're going to talk during the webinar about some levels of maturity for this data management thing. And I've experienced all the levels. I started out in pharma, like I said, back in 96. And have seen the different levels and watched the maturity of the pharma industry in general. So that's kind of why I'm doing this discussion today. And so we'll step on to the next slide. So here's our agenda. Why are you here? Lab data management maturity, some examples, case studies, considerations beyond your organization, tools, concepts, and QA. So our first agenda item is, why are you here? So what is the current state of my lab data management? How do I get the most value? What's my level of DMMM? How can I capitalize on this? So you're here today to understand where you are in terms of data management, understand some real world examples, and to look at some tools and solutions to get you to the next level. We want to demonstrate how you can recognize value from the data, and remembering that data is just data until you do something with it. So let's get into what we call lab data management maturity. All right. So as you can see here, there's typically 5 levels of data management. The example we're using today is a mix of IBM and Gartner models. So I don't know if you guys know about Gartner, but you should learn about Gartner. They do a lot of benchmarking and IT consulting. So basically, a company, they'll come in and help clients understand their IT, the industry that they're in, and make decisions about products. So for instance, about 6 or 7 years ago, I did a LIMS selection project for CSOLs. And the customer, based on my opinions and feedback from the customer, we selected a LIMS product, and then they went to Gartner to validate the selection. So that was kind of nice that they validated my selection. However, they're a good tool if you're kind of looking for somebody to talk to about systems and data management and how everything fits together, or you can contact us. So typically the 5 levels of DMM, again, are unaware, aware, defined, implemented, and optimized. So in the slides coming up, we're going to go ahead and go through the different levels. Okay. So unaware. So unaware People, I'm sure some people in the audience may have been in this situation, so um, unaware is really, we don't know really the importance of our data. We don't take any actions to safeguard it, in a general way, let's say. Processes are typically reactive. There's chaos in the environment. So, very paper-based, low level of technology, instruments, and electronic systems. So where's my data and where's that form? And so